Hi, everyone, and welcome back. We are very excited to have on Ryan Crandal, who is the Chief Revenue Officer at MariMed. We're very excited to jump in and talk a little bit about what the company's been up to, as well as kind of what the general space is holding. I know there's a few pieces of legislation that people are waiting on. We'll talk through all of that. If you guys have any questions, comments, of course, as always, feel free to throw them in the chat. Sorry, I caught a little bit of sparkling water in my throat there. But yeah, feel free to throw them in the chat. Would love to hear from you guys. It's always great to kind of connect you to these experts. So with all that said, Ryan, again, thanks so much for joining. How are you doing?
Excellent, Mackenzie. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. All right. Well, then I thought before we get started into kind of the more serious stuff, if we started kind of with the fun stuff, originally wanted to schedule this because today, for anyone who doesn't know, is National Hot Cocoa Day. So I figured it was kind of perfect because you guys offer, a hot cocoa option. Would you call it infusion, or laced is the wrong word, is the only word that I know is not right, but cannabis, hot cocoa, which is fantastic. And you have a very kind of interesting story tying into the product. So I'd love to hear just a little bit about the hot cocoa and then kind of, how you're specifically connected to it.
Sure. Thanks, Mackenzie.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, we make a hot cocoa drink mix. It's in a brand called Bubbys Baked, available in Massachusetts and Maryland. I think we take a lot of pride in our products at MariMed, and our brands. And, the bar that we set for all products, regardless of the brand, is that, it's got to taste as good as or better than anything that you're going to find in a grocery or organic food store. So we're really geared up for those folks coming into cannabis. So, the hot cocoa mix is fantastic. It's made with Dutch chocolate, and it really, dissolves well. And it's great for the holiday season to bring to a party or to a get together. Great stuff.
I would say definitely the sort of stocking stuffer thing. I have also, full disclosure, picked up one for the holidays because I have some that's a little bit hard to buy for, but I know they like cannabis and I figured it's holiday themed. It works out well. So yeah, I think that's a good pick for sure. Do you want to share a little bit about sort of the Bubbys brand and your connection there as well? Because that's also kind of
Yeah,
exciting.
sure. So, I mean, Betty's Eddies is a brand that I started about 10 years ago now. We're actually just about to do its 10-year commemoration in multiple markets around the product set being out there. So Betty's is a all-natural fruit chew. Think Starburst, but way better with cannabis.
Sure.
And the idea is that all natural, using fruits and veggies to color it, and really paying attention to detail on ingredients, and making sure they're lactose free and vegan and all these different things. So we really pay attention to the details with all of our products. So Betty's was my baby years ago. It's Marimed's baby, and we have multiple brands. So Betty's Eddies being one of them, award winning in multiple states. Nature's Heritage is our flower brand. Bubbys Baked is the brand that we were previously talking about with the hot cocoa. It also has chocolate chip cookies and brownies and a lot of soft baked confections. And then finally, I won't bore you with a bunch of brands,
I
but
love this.
ultimately, we've got an in-house brand that is, really about high quality at value to the consumer. So we offer vaporizers, we offer flour, we will be offering pre-rolls and concentrates in that brand. And then finally, Vibations. Vibations is an all-natural drink mix. And, think Liquid IV or Crystal Light meets cannabis. And it's, that brand is all about hydration. So we believe that, cannabis consumers are active people. They want to be discreet. They want to be on the go with beverage. And we feel like Vibations is the perfect product for those folks.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I do think in general, I know there's a lot of pre-rolls out there. There's a lot of flour. It is very differentiated in its own way, but I think it is great to offer things that people might not see as often. Again, the hot chocolate, kind of the hydration thing that you're mentioning, just the not toffees. What is the word? What are those things that you're talking about?
Fruit chews.
Fruit chews, exactly right. I think it's just so cool to have different, ways for people to consume, and kind of it's just super neat and interesting. So very cool. Just wanted to cover that again, just because hot chocolate day, very exciting. But let's get more into sort of the substantive stuff. I know this is what people want to kind of focus on a little bit. So I know we have come through earnings. We've got them in the rearview mirror. Seems like things went really well, which is great. I know definitely growing revenue. I think it was 14% year over year. Would love to hear just sort of what you would credit with some of that growth, I guess, to start.
Sure. I thank you for the opportunity to kind of walk through some of this.
Course.
It is, the reason for success is in the details. And I would say, across the board, we're in Massachusetts, we're in Maryland, we're in Illinois, and each market has challenges. Each market has opportunities. So I would say, we've outperformed our peer set with regard to our growth during a difficult time in cannabis in most of these states. So I would say, in Massachusetts, we've opened 2 new stores this calendar year, and those stores have contributed to 42% year-over-year growth in the last quarter, right? And our wholesale in a very difficult mass market is up 6%, year over year, and we continue to add new brands, even though prices are coming down on some of our key segments and key categories like flower and like pre-rolls. We continue to innovate and continue to bring new products to market in different ways that are valuable to the consumer. And we're continuing to grow our wholesale business as well as our retail business in Massachusetts.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think Massachusetts is a tougher state sometimes for, we've seen some exits from there in general, like you're mentioning, pricing coming down in general. So I think it's fantastic that you guys have been able to kind of continue to succeed, kind of continue to kind of carve out those things. I wonder if it helps being from Massachusetts. You've got that insider into what Massachusetts, what do they call themselves? People from Massachusetts.
There's some bad names.
Okay. Oh, no.
Bostonians, I think.
Boston, for the most, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I think that's the association.
That covers it. All right. Well, fair enough. Well, so that's solid for Massachusetts. You mentioned some other states that have also seen some success. Maryland, that's our home state, which is super exciting. I know they just this summer introduced, rec use, adult use for people, which is great. Would love to check kind of in a little more detail about what's going on there as well.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think we similar to Massachusetts, we've been in the Maryland market for quite some time now, and seen a little bit of ups and downs of that market as it's gone in and out of different regulations. And I think this latest iteration has been incredibly positive for us. So, adult use went live in July. We've had a medical dispensary in Annapolis, Maryland open. Since adult use has started, we've over doubled the revenue coming out of that store, and we continue to grow that month over month. So we're really bullish about the Annapolis footprint for retail. In addition to that, we are looking very actively to fill out more retail locations in that state.
Mm-hmm.
I do have some things that I can't really discuss in any detail, but we are working on, very, very focused efforts around growing our retail footprint in that state. Mm-hmm. And then on the wholesale side, we continue to grow quarter over quarter and month over month on the wholesale front. So the wholesale business is very, very healthy for us in Maryland. We're putting a lot of pressure on our own production teams to continue to increase output month over month as we increase, the throughput and velocity of our products through those stores. So we're very excited about Maryland. We are increasing our canopy in the next several months here in Maryland. And we can talk a little bit more about, how some of the financing activity that we've done has impacted, our ability to do some of these things in a more aggressive fashion. But I'm thrilled because, it's going to give us 30% more flower capacity in a market where, we can sell every piece of flower that we grow.
Yeah, it's a great state to do well in, I think, for sure. And I know we're biased a little bit because we are in Maryland, but I think it's, been heralded as a successful state rollout, which has been fantastic.
Yes.
You mentioned wanting to expand the footprint in Maryland, which I think totally makes sense. I know, again, don't go into any specific details that you don't want to, but would love to hear just at a high level, when you're looking for a new location, any general points or things that you're looking for, just kind of, broad strokes wise.
Yeah, I mean, I think our brands, our retail brands specifically thrive in the state of Maryland. We tend to look for larger retail spaces that enable consumers to, I don't want to say hang out, it's the wrong word, but it's really spend time, be educated if appropriate. We honestly want to offer the fastest service possible for those looking for that. But for those looking to have a casual experience and be comfortable, we want to provide people ample space. I think COVID taught us that, a lot of times number of people allowed in a store is based on square footage. So we want to make sure that we're not necessarily operating out of shoe boxes. So we want larger stores that make people feel comfortable with spacing and really allow for a great retail experience. So I think we're looking for that in terms of a location, a decent sized location, but then we also want to be, accessible. So we want to be right off major highways, in places of high traffic areas. So, looking at the state of Maryland, there are a good number of stores, but I still believe there's a good opportunity to fill out, not with too many stores, but with some more stores around kind of key areas where people live and key interstates.
Yeah, that makes sense. The square footage thing makes sense as well. It is funny though, just because I went around on July 1st to some of the dispensaries in Maryland just to see what was going on, how that first day was. People were very willing to be standing outside waiting in line, which I know is not true probably in the colder or rainier months, but I think ultimately probably going to have more square footage, but people seem like they're very happy to wait outside as well, which is interesting. Um, well, then you mentioned Illinois as the final one. Would love to hear a little bit more. I think I know that you're getting close to getting Betty's Eddies into that state as well. What's the deal there?
Sure. So I mean, we've actually got some test results on Betty's. So we've actually produced. So we're about to make our first shipments.
Nice.
We are on the 1 inch line.
Okay.
So very, very exciting. So yeah, I mean, Illinois has, when we look in the rear view mirror of the last 12 months, it's been a challenging 12 months.
Sure.
And as I look forward, it's really all the opportunity that we see and all the hard work that's been in the rear view mirror to overcome obstacles. So,
Mhm.
Missouri coming online was a challenge for some of our retail locations. I would also say there's some new dispensaries open in Illinois. Those are challenging things that we've dealt with
Mhm.
at our retail locations. I'd say Kate, we just opened our 5th dispensary in the state of Illinois. So we opened up in Casey, Illinois. For folks that don't know, Casey is the land of big things. So they're known for oversized, everything. So we're actually working with them on a display for the town to participate in that, which is great stuff.
Amazing.
We're very excited about Casey. I mean, Casey represents an opportunity near the Indiana border to start to cut off some traffic, similar to some of our other stores and how they've done that from other points on the map. So, we're very excited about traffic coming in from Indiana and specifically Indianapolis,
Mhm.
and providing those folks with a closer alternative for cannabis in the state of Illinois. So
Yeah.
we're very bullish about the KZ store. And then,
Mhm.
as you mentioned, right? So wholesale, Mount Vernon, Illinois, is a processing and cultivation center
Mhm.
that we now have open for operation, and it's fully licensed and operational. We're employing a ton of folks, getting those folks trained, and producing our first products as we speak. So we will be shipping those products literally tomorrow or Friday to our own stores, our own 4 of our 5 stores, and then we'll be starting to ship wholesale to the rest of the state next week. And those products, that'll be Vibations, the drink mix, Bubbys Baked, the brownies and the cocoa, and Betty's Eddies, which was the #1 product in that state for several years as we partnered with GTI back several years ago. Uh,
Yeah.
so we're feeling great about our edible products hitting the market right now with some vape.
Mhm.
And then, cultivated flower. We have our own craft grow at Mount Vernon as well. So we will actually have our own cultivated flower. We're looking at sometime late Q2 to have cultivated flower to both. Most of that will be sold at our own retail, but we will be wholesaling some of that as well.
Okay, that's super exciting. Again, can you give us you might not be able to give us any teaser or insight into the display that you're building is it something closer? Because it can't be just like a vape. It could be a pre-roll. Could you give us any sort of anything? Or is it just a surprise? We have to wait and see, which is totally
In
fine.
terms of, in,
The
in
display in the town that's
oh,
known
oh, oh,
for
yeah. I
like
mean,
the
we went.
barbecue.
Can I be?
You could also leave it for surprise. It's totally fine.
No, I
I'm
mean,
just
I
curious.
think we're working on something that would be used in combination with cannabis.
Perfect. That's a great teaser. All right, love it. Okay, can't wait to see.
Yeah.
All right, well then that sounds great in Illinois. Seems like things are going well there. Would love to hit on something that's also been in the news, some new exciting state with Ohio. I know just recently, last month, we got, some news. It got a little back and forth, but now we're right back on track for Ohio at least. Can you talk a little bit about Marimed and how it's, what its plan is kind of for Ohio?
Yeah, we're really bullish about Ohio. It's been kind of in our crosshairs as a state that we really wanted to target for quite some time.
Mhm.
It's Ohio's the 7th most populous state in the nation.
Mhm.
We do actually have a small footprint in Ohio. We had a Tiffin, Ohio store, or we have a Tiffin,
Mhm.
Ohio store that opened earlier this year. It's medical only. It is about an hour from the Michigan border, and it's not very busy yet. I
Mhm.
think the good news, month over month, it is growing, but it's just they're small numbers. So in the grand scheme, it's small, but it is a good foothold. And I think what we're talking about as a company is, it's a top priority of Marimed to get vertical in the state of Ohio.
Mhm.
And so that means more retail. That means certainly our own processing facility to make our products, and then lastly the cultivation side of things. So we've been talking within our walls that it's a top priority to get vertical in Ohio, and I think that will be something that we plan on doing in short order.
That's fantastic. Is there anything that you guys do? Because I know you've been in states before that have been medical only that have transitioned into adult use. What's the process there? How easy is it to? I know obviously sometimes it's just it turns on, but kind of talking to people, getting people aware. How's that transition go from a medical only market into adult use?
Each one of these, I like to call states snowflakes. They are a little bit, but the snowflakes, as I see them, tend to replicate certain parts. So one of the things that gives me a little bit more optimism is to say that Maryland just kind of really rushed. I don't want to say rushed, but they moved very quickly.
They did, yeah.
They moved very, very quickly, and I think what they showed is that you can move quickly, you can roll things out. It's not perfect, but you can do it. And I think that starts to put pressure on states like Delaware and states like Ohio, because when the people speak, the people want to see these different initiatives pushed forward quickly.
Yeah.
So I do think where Ohio is moving quickly, that there is precedent now for them to look towards at other states, that are relatively close to them to say, hey, we can do it. And I think it puts pressure on them.
Yep. I hope that it's easier for latter states to kind of say, hey, we've seen how a bunch of different states have approached it. Here's the best from each sort of area and kind of continue and make it better. You never know. It's never guaranteed, but hopefully, because that state, you're right, it's hugely populous and a lot of people there want cannabis. So hopefully they get that there soon.
Right side.
All right. Well, then you mentioned, so I think that's great. Just sort of on the state side of what's going on there. Would love to talk a little bit about more what's going on the company side of things. You mentioned some stuff earlier. Would love to hear a little bit about the announcement that you made in, what was it, November, around Thanksgiving time. I know it was a little bit busy, but some refinancing, which is fantastic. A pretty solid interest rate, it sounds like. Can you kind of give, for anyone who missed it, maybe was too busy eating turkey, which, totally fair, give them the sort of recap of what happened and why it's important?
Yeah, Mackenzie, super excited about this piece, right? I mean, we all work hard every day trying to generate more revenue in each one of these markets, but something like financing, the financing that we just got done as a company, really moves the needle across the board for everything that we do, and it's the backbone of everything that we do. So, it was a long time in the making. We're incredibly proud. Our leadership team is incredibly proud of the fact that we were able to get this financing done, with zero dilution. Right, so no shares were given, and no dilution happened. So we feel as though an interest rate of rough around 8%, is one of the most aggressive rates we've seen from any cannabis company to date, and we feel as though it speaks highly of us as a company, and the fact that we were able to work through and get that rate. We're very proud of it. So it's going to enable our business tremendously. And really cut cost of doing business as we look to, merge and or acquire, other businesses to grow ours. So, it's a excellent opportunity for us as a company, and we're very excited.
That's fantastic. And then I know a big story for people who have been, managing debt has been the dilution. Is there any dilution to shareholders at all for that? Is there any sort of impact there?
Zero.
Nice. Okay, good. Okay, looking out for the shareholders. That's good stuff. Love it. Awesome. Okay, well then I would love to talk a little bit about, I guess, sort of the larger picture, because I think that that'll enable you guys to have a lot of cash until things get a little bit better, just from a legislative side of things, which I know we're hoping and waiting and praying for. But again, nothing's promised in terms of timing, even though people are getting excited about it. Would love to sort of hear your general take on where we are from a legislative side of things, whether that's safer, whether that's the rescheduling, anything that you think is kind of in the mix. What's your sort of take for the rest of 2023 into 2024?
Yeah, I mean, I think safe's an interesting one. I don't, my gut on it, just to get to the point, and then I'll describe it a little bit.
Sure.
I don't think it's going to move. Is the latest stuff that I've been reading is, maybe we get surprised. But I mean, I think there were a lot of Fortune 100 business leaders that were recently called out on stage, like, what would they support safe? And I think most of them said no, they wouldn't, because none of them had read it. So until the details of safe really kind of are out there for people to digest and say I'm on the side or not,
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to see that it's going to get done in my eyes. It just seems like people aren't on the same page around safe yet. I
Mm-hmm.
do think it'll be tremendously impactful when it does,
Yeah.
because I think one of the key things that come out of it is real investment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Real, pension funds and retirement funds and real money being able to come into cannabis and real listings on the stock exchanges. So I'm excited about all that. That excites me, and it excites our company. But I would say I don't see it right around the corner as if I were a betting person.
Yeah, that's fair. Seems like we need like a little explainer card that is like, here's what's in it. You don't have to read it. Just give me like 2 seconds. You can get a sense
Bullet,
of it. Pictures.
bullet points instead of
Yeah,
just
bullet points.
the bullet bill, right? Like the
Yeah.
bullet points. What are you supporting?
Yeah.
The other side to this, though, the rescheduling part, I do
Sure.
think could happen, and I think that has different implications, right? That's more around the 280E side of things, and that's really around us or companies being able to have more write-offs and be more profitable.
Mhm.
And be able to grow faster and take advantage of opportunities that they see in the market faster. So, that excites me as well. So I think if you were to say that combination happens, I'm ecstatic. One or the other happens, I think we're really happy, and I think it's progress. So
Yeah, no, again, I think a lot of people are super looking forward to it. I guess also in the meantime, some states are sort of moving along with 280E relief. So maybe we see that in the meantime, but hopefully we don't have to be kind of relying on that for getting that 280E relief, because I think ultimately a lot of the companies just want to operate as a normal business would, kind of have those normal write-offs, all the classic stuff that businesses can do. So hopefully we see moving towards that soon. I mean, in the meantime, I know it's a sort of a waiting game. Anything that we can do to kind of help influence that, do you think? I mean, from a company perspective, from an individual perspective, what's a good way for people to kind of feel like they're pushing things forward a little bit?
yeah, I think we tried to call attention to it. We tried to do something viral to bring a lot of attention, right? But I think things like we reenacted a tea
What was it?
party in the Boston Harbor and
Oh,
rented a
yeah.
scooter, and we thought we got a lot of views. We got a
Yeah.
good bang out of it, but we wanted it to even be bigger than it was and really draw more attention to 280. The good news was, I mean, like literally a week later, we heard the announcement around potentially rescheduling. So potentially our little
Take
straw
credit for it.
threw the straw on the camel's back, maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think if more people and more groups, whether it's tongue in cheek or not, uh,
Mhm.
start to put public pressure on folks and talk more about it, we're legitimate. These are legitimate businesses. We're legitimate families that are supporting ourselves. Pushing this forward, and I believe strongly that there needs to be reform and reform quickly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do think emphasizing maybe kind of the Boston Tea Party aspect as well, of the fact that it's a very sort of American industry in the US, obviously, sort of that job creating, sort of that American spirit, I think, kind of thing should reach both, Democrats and Republicans as well. So
Sure.
hopefully that, I think also just probably talking to friends, talking to family, answering questions, providing that education. I know again, it's limited, but we can only do kind of what's in our own spheres. Of course, as a company, you can do more fun stunts as well, which is fantastic. But yeah, I would definitely recommend that. Okay, perfect. Well, then, sort of as we're managing through, looking forward to 2024, anything that has you sort of excited, ready? I know it's again, cannabis can be punishing, but there's a lot of good stuff in there too. So, what's sort of your look forward through 2024?
Yeah, I mean, I get excited about a couple different things. I mean, I get excited about expanding to new states. So I think
Mhm.
the Ohio's of the world, the Jerseys of the world, continuing to build out the states we're in. That excites me. That excites this company. That provides value for our shareholders. So that's exciting. I think the number two thing that I can't go into too much detail about, but I want people to get excited about
Mhm.
is the innovation. That we're bringing to market, not just in our existing brands like Betty's and Nature's, which there is plenty of innovation that's going to go on there and plenty of leadership, that we'll continue to demonstrate in those brands. But there's going to be some new segments that we play in as we go forward, and that we've identified segments that are going to be higher growth segments than they are today. We think we have some really strong, innovative minds within our walls, and really great branding folks. And we believe there's still a tremendous amount of growth on the brand side, in specific categories in cannabis that we'll continue to capitalize on.
Fantastic. All right, we'll be eagerly awaiting all of that to see what happens and kind of following along. Hopefully we'll check in with you in 2024, which will be very exciting to see how things are going, still moving along, which will be fantastic. In the meantime, happy holidays. I'll see you, I guess, in 2024. Hope you have a good rest of 2023. Do you have any New Year's resolutions you're doing?
Ooh,
They're hard.
yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm gonna lose some weight in the new year, so that's
Oh,
part of the plan. A little ketogenesis on the table going into.
I would say swapping alcohol for cannabis seems to be an easy one as well. I don't know if you drink at all, but that's
I don't drink too much. I don't drink.
okay. Very
Too
fair. All right, good
much.
stuff.
Thank you very much, Mackenzie. Thank you for
Of
having
course,
me.
Ryan, really appreciate you being on. Thanks everyone for being here, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Before investing, carefully consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses found in the prospectus, available at advisorshares.com.